The Mishnah is innovative in its halachic approach in the sense that it's organized by subject. And we're in the order of Nashim, and we're going through the order of Nashim, which is in theory related to women, and we're going through the tractate of Nedarim, which is related to vows. And the connection between vows and women is not clear, but maybe it's to do with the power of verbal contract. We can talk about on another occasion. But the point is that the Mishnah is oriented essentially by subject, whereas the halachic midrashim are oriented by verse. They go verse by verse through Torah, and they learn out different halachot. So it's very interesting that at the end of the 10th chapter, so we're going through the Mishnah and Nedarim, we're now close to the end of the 10th chapter, which is the penultimate chapter of the tractate completely. We're going to come into two Mishnayot, which reference two contiguous Pesukim, as if these Mishnayot are somehow left over from some halachic midrash, which I don't think exists anymore on this subject. These Mishnayot don't seem to come from a halachic midrash, but nevertheless, they are based on two consecutive Pesukim. And we're just going to look, first of all, at the Pesukim, at the verses. The first one is to do with upholding and revoking vows. Kol neder v'chol shvuat yisa la'anot nafesh. Every vow and every oath to afflict the soul. The expression la'anot nafesh is similar to the kind of what we do on Yom Kippur, fasting or not wearing leather and so on, not anointing ourselves, not washing. Every vow, every oath that afflicts the soul. And we're going to deal with this, by the way, in the beginning of the next chapter. So again, we're working in order through this verse. Every vow and every oath to afflict the soul. Isha yikimena ve'isha yifarena. Her husband can uphold it and her husband may annul it. There seems to be some equivalence between upholding and annulling, which the Mishnah is going to appeal to in a very, very kind of midrashic sense. And then the next pasuk deals with time. If a husband is silent from day to day, it's not quite clear what from day to day means, but if a husband is silent, if he's silent, then he upholds all the vows. So upholding a vow doesn't require action, it just requires silence. And then the Torah emphasizes, Hekim otam ki hechrishla b'yom shomo. He upheld the vow because he was silent on the day he heard. So there's something about the day he hears. He's got to be silent or not silent on the day he hears, and it works from day to day. So let's keep those in mind, and let's jump into the Mishnah. Someone who says to his wife, all vows that you can vow from now until I come from such and such a place, behold, they're upheld. Feels like he's going out on a journey. He's going off on a journey. He's saying to his wife, look, all your vows are preemptively upheld. And the Mishnah rules, lo amar klum, he hasn't said anything. You cannot preemptively uphold a vow. Although again, why you would want to is not clear, because if he's away in this place, he's clearly not going to object. So the Mishnah is saying, lo amar klum, he hasn't said anything. Maybe because we can't preemptively uphold vows, or maybe just because if he's away, then clearly the vows are going to stand. Perhaps. Anyway, Rabbi Eliezer is going to disagree. Harei hem mufarim. Rabbi Eliezer omer mufar. here they are annulled, and Rabbi Eliezer says they're annulled. Rabbi Eliezer says, actually, it works. They are annulled. And the sages say, no, it doesn't work. They're not work. It doesn't work like this. Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer is going to try to explain his position. Nedarim she'ba'u lichlal isur. If he can annul vows which have already come into force, lo yafer nedarim shelo ba'u lichlal isur. Sure, he can annul those which haven't come into force. So now we're into annulment rather than into confirmation. But Rabbi Eliezer is saying, look, if this husband has got the right to annul, retroact after the fact, surely he must have the right to annul before the fact. In other words, he can go away and he can say, look, all your vows are annulled. Amrulo. They said to him, and now they're going to quote our pasuk: "Isha yikimena ve'isha yefarena." Her husband may uphold it, and her husband may annul it. In other words, annulment and upholding are equivalent. If he can't uphold in advance, then he can't annul in advance. And then the sages explain, that which has entered the klal, the generality of upholding, has entered the generality of annulment. If we can uphold it, then we can annul it. If it hasn't come into upholding, it hasn't come into the. If we can't uphold it, we can't annul it. And halakha, of course, goes according to it goes according to the sages. What about the issue to do with the day? This is where this chapter closes. Remember that the Torah seems to be particular about the fact that he has to hear them. He has to hear the vow on that day, and he can annul it. And he can annul it from day to day. Miyom liyom. The annulment of vows is for the whole day. He's got one day to do it. And this can be stringent or lenient. Keitzad. So she vowed on the eve of Shabbat, and it'll become clear, by the way, that she vowed on Erev Shabbat after Shabbat came in. So she's vowed at night. We haven't had a day yet. So he gets the whole of the next day to annul. We haven't had a day yet. And this is what the miyom liyom means. He gets effectively the whole of the day. Vahi Erev, Vahi Voker, the day starts in the evening. Vahi Erev, Vahi Voker, there was evening and then there was morning. It's the beginning of Bereshit, the beginning of Genesis. He gets the whole day. We haven't had a day yet. He can annul on Erev Shabbat, and he can annul on Shabbat day until nightfall. What about the other way around? Nadra im chashecha. She vowed just when it was getting dark. Mefer ad shelo techsha. He can annul only until it gets dark. That's the end of the day. Remember, he's got to do it on the day. She'im lo hefer v'chashecha eino yachol lahafer. If he doesn't annul and it gets dark, he can no longer annul at all.